The Late Morning Program with Nam Ras Podcast.
Hare Krishna, you're listening to the Late Morning Program with Namras, the #1 Hare Krishna podcast in the world. I'm so very honored to have Satyanarayana, Shri Satyanarayana Das Babaji Maharaj on the podcast today. Maharaj, thank you so much for joining me.
Namaste.
So I wanted to have you on the podcast because you're a very erudite scholar within the Gaudiya Vaishnava community. I just want to kind of talk a little bit about your qualifications. You have a PhD in the analysis of Bhakti Sandarbha, an MA in Sanskrit, MTech, a BTech, also an Indian law degree, which is really fascinating as well, and so very well learned. And so I'd like to also talk to you about different aspects of Krishna consciousness, as well as your own history in Krishna consciousness in Bhakti. And so maybe we can start there, Maharaj. Maybe we can talk about how did you come in contact with spiritual life?
Well, this is a long history. So it may take some time because it's not that somebody preached to me and I joined ISKCON or I joined spiritual life. But from my very childhood, I was very clear what I want to do. As far back as my memory goes, I had this idea that I don't want to live like a family life. I don't want to get married, which I saw people around me, family people. And I wanted to be a sadhu. In fact, I used to visualize myself with beard and everything. So which you see now.
Right.
I was born in a village which is like outskirts of Vraja. And in those days, I mean, things have changed so much. It is unbelievable. I think I belong to one of the last generation in India where they have seen both sides of the world. What you read in the 10th canto, Krishna's childhood in Braj, how he was in the forest, tending the cows, living just a pastoral life in the village, and everybody is together. I lived like that. It was a very small village, and there was no electricity. So you can imagine, no electricity means no machinery. Forget about phone and all this television, computer, camera, watch. Nobody had watch. So just imagine the life living without any watch, without any radio, no news from anywhere, basically. Just people together. And there were about 50 families, I think, and everybody was just doing farming. Of course, there were some like 2 Brahmana houses which were doing the Brahmana duties, and some what you call the Shudras. They do other things like making shoes, cleaning, like how it used to be in India, the Varnashram system. But predominantly people were Kshatriyas. I belong to a Kshatriya community. Actually, my lineage comes from Arjuna.
Wow.
We can trace it. Because in India, there is a system which people may not know, because sometimes people think all these Puranas are just stories and they've been made up by somebody. There's a class of people, they're Brahmanas, they're called Bhatts, also called Jaga in some places. Like what you hear Sut Goswami speaking Puranas, they are actually belonging to the same class of people. Maybe they were originally called Suta, but in the village they were called Bhatta. Like you have Bhattas, like Gopal Bhatta. So they were called Bhatt. So what they do is that they keep record of each family. They keep registers, and they were considered that authentic. So any birth happens in the family, any death happens in the family, they keep a record of that. And once a year, they go to each house. They will have like many villages under them. Like one family of Bhatt may have 10 villages, like a king ruling 10 villages, 15. Like in the olden days, there used to be very small kingdoms in India. So they come to your house and then they will have dinner in the family. They will stay with the family for one night, and what they do is they recite the lineage, and they have made like sloka type of things. They just don't read it. It's like a poetry.
Wow.
So that's why I can believe that this Purana, why Sut Goswami is speaking, because he actually belongs to that class and he knows, and therefore one of the characteristic of the Purana is Vansanucharitam Chaiva, that defining the Vansa, the lineage, the genealogy, that is one of the characteristic. Atra Sargo Visargasya Sthanam Poshanamutya Vansanucharit Manvantar Ishanukatha. So that includes the genealogy is one of the important part of the Puranas, especially if you see the ninth canto of Bhagavatam. It's all about just the kings and their genealogy, including Krishna. And that's how the ninth canto ends, with Krishna, and then 10th starts giving details of Krishna's life. So that just to give you one side thing, because
Sure.
there's so many things I can talk on.
Yeah.
Also, when somebody dies, then you have to go and do Shraddha. So you go to Haridwar, you have to put the asthi, the ashes, into Ganga. There are also Brahmanas who are sitting with big piles of registers, and they have record of all your family members, whoever ever visited there. They can tell you, oh, 30 years ago, your great grandfather came here, or somebody came here, and he gave this much donation. They record everything.
Wow.
So there are a lot of history which can be traced, but I think now these things are disappearing, unfortunately.
What do you feel about Vrindavan changing in the sense of,
Yeah, I have
it's
seen that
become,
also, because I've been in Vrindavan now 35 years. So I have seen so much change.
yeah.
In fact, recently I went to my village, maybe after 35, 40 years. The village is no more a village. I cannot recognize it. All the fields are gone. There are buildings everywhere. Most people have left. Many have died. I hardly can recognize anybody there. So anyway, I lived like that. I have tended cows. I have gone to the forest with cows barefoot and playing all these games which are mentioned in Bhagavatam.
Wow.
So that's how I grew up. And I was always thinking of my goal in life. I used to do puja as a child, do worship of Krishna and whatever I knew. There was no guidance. But there was a sadhu who used to come to our village from Vrindavan. He belonged to Radha Vallabh Sampradaya, if you have heard of Hita Harivansh Goswami,
Right. Yes.
whom we say was a disciple of Gopal Bhatt Goswami, but then there was later some conflict and he separated, or rather, it is our belief that he was like sort of rejected by him over certain issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the controversial story. I don't know the truth. Anyway, this sadhu, he used to come to our village, much before my birth, and he was blind, but he had some yogic powers. So people were very impressed, and village people generally ask about their family problems. He will do that. But he wanted to build a temple, and my grandfather donated land for the temple. So the temple wall was actually adjacent to our house. So that was also the thing, that from my childhood I used to attend the Aarti. He established Radha Krishna temple there. And later on, when I joined ISKCON, I joined in Detroit and I came to India. Then my grandfather told me that this sadhu, people used to call him Surdas. Surdas is a name of a famous poet, Surdas, who was around time of Jiva Goswami. And he wrote a lot of poetry on Krishna, but he was blind. So now in India, it is a tradition that anybody who is blind, they call him Surdas. Because calling somebody blind is like an insult.
Right.
So his name was actually Kishori Das Baba, but nobody really knew his name that way. Everybody called him Surdas Baba, Surdas Baba. So my grandfather told me that when I was born, then he went and reported. He happened to be here at that time. He used to travel by foot, going from village to village, and he made maybe 15, 20 temples in all the nearby villages. And there used to be kirtan and all these things. So that he predicted that this boy, he will become some big politician or he will become a sadhu. So my grandfather said that now his prediction has come true.
Wow. When
So
you, yeah.
so I grew up in that village atmosphere, and I used to read stories. The temple had some book like Mahabharata. I used to, when I grew up and I learned how to read, I will read those books very eagerly. And the village people who are mostly illiterate, they will come and sit down around me and hear the stories, because they've never heard something like that from shastra. So that is the type of childhood I had. And then in our village, there was a school which only had like one room and one teacher there. It was nothing what you can imagine a school, just sitting under a tree and learning basically what you call reading, writing. Then I went to another village. So that was from first grade to fifth grade. And then sixth, seventh, and eighth, I went to another school in a village which was about a mile away from my village. And after that, there was no school nearby to study, and my father wanted, all of us to be educated. So one of our relative, he also lived in a village in the outskirts of Delhi. So near his village, there was a higher secondary school, means for what you call ninth, 10th, 11th grade. At that time, we didn't have this 10 plus 2 system. So I lived in their village and studied there, which was like a big shock for me to leave my village. And that was like more modern with, electricity, this, that. And it is he who prompted me. I was very good at studies. So he prompted me to appear for IIT, Indian Institute of Technology,
Right.
joint. And there used to be entrance exams. They still have, and it's very tough. It's not easy to get into IIT. Probably you know that IITs
Oh
are
yeah,
like
of
MIT
course.
India.
Yes.
Sometimes people get admitted in MIT and IIT, and they prefer IIT over MIT.
Right.
Many of these companies like Microsoft, most of the engineers are from IIT.
Google's CEO, I think he's also IIT.
Yeah, yeah, they're all on big posts. So anyway, I got admitted there, which was like a miracle, and that was another shock because when I arrived there, I don't know English, and all these students who came there, they all came from very rich families, high class families, and I come from a village. So I had to struggle. I have to learn English myself.
Wow.
So I passed, and when I completed, it was a 5-year course, BTech, Bachelor of Technology. So then I was worried because now if I complete my BTech, then I will get a job. Then question for marriage will come because this standard in India.
Hmm.
So therefore I did MTech. I said I got 2 more years. So I convinced my father that I want to do MTech. So I did BTech and MTech, and then after MTech, I got a job. So first I got a job in a division of Ford Motor Company. They used to manufacture a tractor in Faridabad, which is not far from our village. So I got a job there and I lived in my village. But then the pressure for marriage started coming. And in India, it was like a arranged marriage system. So what happens is that the father of the girl approaches the father of the boy for the marriage proposal. So many people were approaching my father because I was qualified, person.
Right.
And then this problem will come to me because my father will then ask me, and I didn't want to get married, but it was hard to tell him that no, I don't want to get married, because then he will ask why, and everybody will ask why, because nobody knew what is inside my mind. I never revealed this to anybody. Nobody ever knew what is my plan until I actually became sadhu, and then they realized that, because I told actually this is what I wanted to do. So then I thought that I better move away from here. So I got a job in Mumbai, because getting job for IIT people is not a big deal. So I got job with Tatas, which are very big corporate in India. So I moved to Mumbai thinking that I'm safe, too far away from here. And, especially in those days, I'm still talking about 70s, the traveling was not so easy and simple. So I moved from there. Just within 1 month, I resigned from the company and I went there. But then whenever I came home, the same song will come: marriage, marriage, marriage. So that's when I decided to go to America. I had no plan to come to America, although many of my classmates in IIT went to America and they were always planning to go there. And I had no plan because I didn't want to do this kind of thing. So then I went to America. I got a job in Miami, Florida. And then there I started searching for spiritual organizations. And in those days, they were not much. So I landed there in I think 9th January 79. And I was completely new. I had no idea about American life. We heard so much about America, and coming to America, people considered like, you have reached heaven without doing some yagya. Swarga kama yajet.
The roads are
So,
paved with gold.
yeah. So seeing American culture also made me more firm that this is not what I want to do. I mean, I saw the emptiness of the whole culture and I saw how people are living, and it's all external. External is very nice, but internal is quite stinking. I'm sorry to say that.
Right. Agreed.
There were no family relations, and
Mm.
I came from a very loving family, religious, pious family. Although my parents were not some highly scholarly people, but they were very deep rooted in our culture and very kind and loving. And so I could see the difference. I remember one day my boss came late and he said that, oh, I'm late because my car broke down, so I have to come with my wife's car. For me, this was a shock. He says, what, you came? I mean, I didn't ask him, but I said, you came with your wife's car? What is this? In India, we have joint family, we may own one bicycle, and everybody says, this is our bicycle. But this guy is saying that he came with his wife's car. So then I understood that there is no relation here. Everybody just individual and they live together, but there is no harmony from heart. So then I could see the contrast between Indian culture and Western culture, and this prompted even more for me to become more serious about spiritual life. So, but there was not much there in America. I remember I first came to know about this Jai Krishna Murthy. You know that Jai Krishna Murthy?
No.
Have you heard of?
No.
He was a famous guy. He was groomed by Theosophical Society. That's another issue. So there was a study circle of Jai Krishna Murthy. He was quite popular in Europe also. He lived in Switzerland, but he also lived in California, I think. So I went there, but I was not impressed. Then there was another guy. They used to call him Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj. He was Bali Yogeshwar. Young boy. He must be around in his 20s, but very popular in Miami. I remember for this holy festival, this color festival where you throw color, he has booked the whole stadium in Miami. And he came there and he was throwing this color with a pipe, and all the, and there were thousands of people. He had a lot of followers. So I also went to listen to him, but did not attract me. There was also a small center of ISKCON not far from where I was living, but I did not know anything about ISKCON at that time. So I visited that, and I also did not like it because as soon as I went there, these devotees, how ISKCON, they started preaching to me. I did not need that. And they were forcing me to buy the book.
Right.
I mean, I would have bought book otherwise, but because they forced me, I did not buy, and I left quickly from there,
Wow.
never to go back. So then I got transferred to Detroit. I used to work with a computer company called Burroughs Corporation. And it used to be number 2 in those days. Number 1 used to be IBM.
Hmm.
And in those days, this kind of computers which we have now, this does not exist. There used to be like three types of computers only: small size, medium size, and large size. Large computer, medium computer, small computer. Large computer means it will have its own room. They used to call it computer room because it will be huge. So it has to be, kept at a proper temperature. And even the small ones were big. They will occupy like a whole table.
Wow.
So I came to Detroit, and by that time I became even more serious. And fortunately, there was a library downtown in Detroit, and they had a section of philosophy in which they had some books about India, Indian culture. So I used to borrow books from there and read because nothing else was available. So I was reading biography of Ramakrishna Paramhansa, and I was quite impressed. And I thought, well, I have to maybe find something and maybe join them. And he was saying that one should control the senses, and fasting is very important for controlling senses. So I started fasting on the weekend. Every weekend I'll do complete fasting
Wow.
because I was very serious. And I had a lot of friends in those days. Friends were very close circle, and they used to have party on the weekend, but I was completely aloof. So in my circle, everybody knew that this guy is little off. So what happened that in the capital city of Michigan, I forget the name of the city. What is the capital of Michigan?
Is it Lansing? Maybe.
Yeah, Lansing.
Is it
I
Lansing?
think. Yeah, I think. So there lived one of my senior from IIT Delhi. So I knew him and I visited him. He was working. He was married, and so I went to visit him. And he has also heard about me. So he said, "Oh, there is a very beautiful Radha Krishna temple in Detroit. You should visit that. You will like it." He did not say ISKCON. If he had said ISKCON, probably I will not go
Right.
because of my experience in Miami.
Right.
So then I came and I searched the yellow pages. In those days, there used to be, this telephone
Of
directory, the
course. Yeah.
yellow.
Yeah. I remember Yellow Pages. Yeah.
And I found their telephone number. I called, and I took the directions to go there. I was living, outskirts of Detroit. So I went there on Sunday feast. So that was, I said, oh, this is very nice. I fast Saturday, Sunday, and I can break my fast here by the feast. But I was quite amazed by the temple. If you have been to Detroit temple, it's very nice. It's that Fisher
Yeah.
Mansion,
Yes.
which was bought by Ambrish and that other lady, forget
Hmm.
her name, for Prabhupada. So it has nice gardens and there are peacocks, which reminded me so much of my village life, and beautiful temple. So I started going there. And again, these devotees started preaching to me, and I will argue with them. They won't be able to actually stand my arguments because their answers were very simple.
Mm-hmm.
But coincidentally, what happened is that the temple president of Detroit ISKCON was from IIT Delhi.
Really?
Yes, Naveen Krishna, if you have heard of him, he
No,
lives
I
in
haven't.
Alachua now.
Okay.
Yeah, he once upon a time he was also GBC, but he left because he was, bringing up this issue of poisoning of Prabhupada.
Mm.
And he wrote that book also, I think so. I think he left ISKCON, but I think he lives in Alachua. He came to visit me a few years ago here. So he told all the people there in Detroit. Detroit was a very big community in that time. There were at least 80 devotees in the temple, and many very nice. I think it was one of the most flourishing temples in ISKCON at that time. So he told everybody that don't preach to this guy. I will handle him. And at that time, I also met there. There was another friend of mine who was from IIT, also from IIT Kharagpur. And there was another devotee, Ravi Gautam, who is known as Rasraj now. Probably heard his name. He's
Hmm.
in India. He's still there in ISKCON. So we three became very intimate friends, and we'll meet on the weekend. Actually, every Friday or Saturday we'll meet together. We'll discuss, and then Sunday he was living in Flint, which was like 80 miles away from Detroit. He was
Yeah.
working there. So we'll go to his house, and he was also alone, and we'll just talk about Bhagavatam, this, that. And three of us joined together. So we took Diksha in 1981 in Detroit. So that's how I joined.
Wow.
And my job was very interesting. My job was troubleshooting. So the Burroughs Corporation, besides making computers, they also were making software packages for the companies, like for accounting, for the, inventory, etc. So if they had any problem, then it will come to me. And since computer was not that everybody had a computer, so I needed a computer to work on that. And he said, well, you can work in the evening, so that in the daytime, the other people who are writing program, they can use the computer. So they said, you can come after 5 o'clock, 5 to 12 or something. So I said, how about 3 to 10? I said, I don't need computer immediately. So I'll come 2 hours early. And then once you guys leave, then I'll use the computer. So basically my job was like 3 to 10, which was like, it's like I'm free whole day.
Right.
And 10 is not that late.
Yeah.
And the office was not far away from where I lived. It was maybe 15 minutes drive.
Mhm.
And then this troubleshooting, why I'm saying is that troubleshooting was an interesting job because nobody knows how long it will take to troubleshoot. So they'll give me the problem and they will ask me, so how long it will take? So I will randomly say, well, it will take 10 days. So, okay. So then, but I may fix it in one day.
Right.
For 9 days, I'm just free.
Right.
So therefore, what I was doing is that I used to just take books and read there because there was nobody there. After 5, everybody
Right.
leaves. So there's no one checking me. And sometimes troubleshooting, I will just do at home because it's not, once you know the problem, you have to just think. Sometimes I'm cooking at my place and then it will struck me, oh, this is the problem, and I'll fix it. So what I'm saying is that I got so much time to read. I read a lot of Prabhupada's books.
Mm.
So what impressed me at that time to join ISKCON, I was not immediately keen to join ISKCON like that, is that this Prabhupada's biography, volume 2, I think it is called Planting the Seed, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So that was not printed yet. Satswarup Goswami, he wrote the second volume first and the first came later on, because the first needed a lot of research about Prabhupada's early life. And the second volume began when Prabhupada landed in Boston. So that was very impressive to me, very, very impressive. And I immediately became surrendered to Prabhupada by reading that book because I could see that how great he is and how much struggle he has gone through.
Yeah.
So it was not easy for me to get convinced by somebody, but Prabhupada's biography is that was convinced me. And it was not somebody's preaching or this or that. So that's when I decided to join. But then within 1 year, there was a big problem. I took Diksha from Jatirtha Maharaj, Tirthapad.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then 1982, he had this problem.
Yeah.
We were already hearing this, but being disciple, we will hear all the positive side.
Right.
So he was taking this LSD, and this was a big controversy. So then he left and he joined Sridhar Maharaj
Right.
in Navdeep. So many of his disciples left, and it was big troublesome period for me. So then I don't know what to do. So at that time, many of the gurus came, Rameswar Swami came, Bhavananda Maharaj came, and Gopal Krishna Maharaj came, and who else, and some other. And, most of my ex-god brothers, they all got reinitiated. So I and Rasraj and this third person, his name was Gaudiya Prakash, we did not take initiation. So Rasraj said that he will go to India and find out what is happening actually. Because we were not sure that really what is being told to us is true.
Because you were in America at the time.
Yeah. So then he came to India and he met Jatirtha Maharaj, and somehow he got convinced by him. So he joined him. And then he was opening his temple for him in Bangalore.
Wow.
And I was left alone, and we don't get any news. And I was still there. I was treasurer there in Detroit. So all the devotees used to come every morning to take money from me. They were called Sankirtan devotees. I don't know if you know that. This was called SKP, Sankirtan Party.
Right.
So first I used to think that Sankirtan means they go on the street and do Sankirtan. But actually what they were doing is they were selling these buttons and paintings and
Oh, right,
collecting.
right. The pick. Yeah.
So they needed some change every morning.
Right.
And then in the evening they will return the money, whatever their collection was. And I have to note that and separate all that. I keep a record. And their names were being announced every morning. So and so collected so many Lakshmi points. And once a week, I also have to go on book distribution, which I completely hated. And I had no caliber for that because I'm not a preacher.
Mm.
So the maximum I collected was $20. And everyone else was collecting like $300, $250. So everybody used to make fun of me. And then they started making more fun of me because I did not take Diksha. I mean, reinitiation.
Yeah.
So when my office was on the first floor, when they will come through the stairs, they will start saying, Srila Rameswar Maharaj, so and so, he was called? Sankirtan Pad Ki Jai. Sri Bhavanand Maharaj, Vishnu Pad Ki Jai. And so Ki Jai. And then they will say, and have not decided it Ki Jai. Have not decided yet Ki Jai. So that's how they were troubling me. So then I decided to leave from there. I mean, there's so many things happened. I'm just giving a brief
Sure.
story. So I moved to Los Angeles because at that time in Detroit, they were having this fate museum work was going on. So there was one devotee, Dhumrakesh, Prabhupada's disciple. He used to work and he then moved to LA, Watsika Avenue. So I went there. Before that, I also went to San Francisco and met Atreya Rishi. You probably don't know. Atreya Rishi was actually from Harvard, MBA from Harvard, very intelligent person. And he was very good friend of Jatirtha Maharaj. So he had come to Detroit just before all this problem came, and we planned, me, Rasraj, Gaudiya Prakash, that we will start a software company to support ISKCON Detroit. We'll make the profit because we all three were brahmacharis, So we'll live there in the temple and we are all three, educated. So this was our plan, but before that, Atreya Rishi will support it if any finances were needed, and he will be in charge of it because
You
he was.
didn't. 1 second. You didn't feel that. Oh, because that J Tirth, all this stuff was happening that you didn't know about. That maybe that you wanted to distance yourself from ISKCON at that time, or you were still like, oh, ISKCON.
I had faith in Prabhupada.
Oh, right.
So at that time itself, I decided that actually now one thing is I am not going to take initiation just like that. And my faith was in Prabhupada, so I don't want to leave Prabhupada.
Right.
And that's why I stuck. So I was in ISKCON only because of Prabhupada, not because of any guru or anything. Even when I had taken Diksha, I was not like highly impressed or like that. I mean, I respected Jatirtha. He was a nice person, and I did personal service to him. So
sorry to interrupt. You were saying that you wanted to create a software company with those devotees.
Yeah, but then this fiasco happened. So then I went and I met Atre Rishi in San Francisco, but there was not much coming from there because at that time I was lost what to do and where to go. I didn't want to take Diksha, especially from people whom I'm not sure, because I became doubtful of now.
Yeah,
So then I moved
naturally.
to LA and I started working for Dhumrkes. He was working for, what was it called? Like, online, some kind of like online sales things. So I was working on the computer there for him. They were selling incense and books through that, and they also had some other tricks, which I don't want to go into details. So I used to live there, and I had my office, and I will just go to the temple for the program, but I will not meet with anybody because everybody will ask this question: Who is your guru? Who is your guru? And I did not have one. So I didn't want to mix with anybody. So I became quite aloof. And at that time, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, who was director of Bhaktivedanta Institute, he came there. So I met him and we had discussion, and I liked him. And this is the first time I met him. I mean, I heard about him from Atreya Rishi when he came to Detroit, because Atreya Rishi was a very good friend of Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj,
Mm-hmm.
because they both were, educated. Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj was PhD from America. He was MBA from Harvard. So then I decided maybe I will take Diksha from him. And then I was always, because I was very close with Rasraj Prabhu. We were very intimate friends. We could sit together like 5-6 hours and just talk on Bhagavatam, on this, on that. The time will just fly. We'll forget about eating and sleeping. We are very, very close friends. So, but then my family people were also worried, because they came to know, and that I had become sadhu, and my mother was very worried, because she was a simple village woman. She thought that I had become a sadhu, like you have sadhus in India, they go begging, do madhukari. So they
Right.
thought I am doing madhukari here in America, like that. That's what she was thinking. So she was crying and not eating. So I
Okay.
decided to go to India. But again, I didn't want to be with the family. I thought, okay, I will visit them, I will explain to them, and I will go where Rasraj is. But I didn't know where he is. There's no contact, because he was not in ISKCON anymore. So what happened that one day, Mukunda Goswami came to our office. And then when I was working on the computer, he asked me, who's your guru? Standard question. So I said, well, I was disciple of Tirthapad, Jatirtha Maharaj. And says, oh, I met one of your god brother in Chennai. And then I said, who was he? And he said, well, I don't remember the name. I said, was it Rasraj? And he said, yes. And that's how I got the clue about Rasraj. So then I booked my ticket, and I said, I will go to India and I'll join Rasraj in Chennai. And I was also trying to get in contact with him. So I got the Chennai phone number from BTG, and I called, and he said, no, he does not live in the temple. He comes only on Sundays. So anyway, on one Sunday, it was possible for me to talk to him. And I said, Rasraj, I'm coming to India. I'll be with you. We'll be together. And he says, don't come to India. Don't come to India. Stay there. And we will work together. We'll drop this and we'll take up job again. He says, I have given up this Jatirtha Maharaj. He told me that. Because till that time I was still thinking that I'll be with Rasraj. In the meantime, I had met Jatirtha Maharaj. At least I wanted to see him one, and he was in a village near, I think, between LA and San Francisco. It was called Three Rivers City.
Right. Three
Some
Rivers. Yeah.
small. So he was staying there. So I went to see him there. And he was with his wife. He got married. I never saw him like that. So I spent one night, and I told him, what has happened. And I must say that he was very nice to me. And you know what he told me? He says, don't join me. Stay in ISKCON and serve Prabhupada. So I said, fine. I was happy to hear that.
Mm.
Otherwise, I still considered him like my guru, and in India, if you take Diksha, it is not easy to just drop like that. So I still had that feeling that how can I give him up? So he himself said it. So then I was quite happy that, okay, then I'll be in ISKCON and join. But now Rasraj was saying that, no, we will go back to Detroit, we'll take our jobs and we'll work together. So I said, look, Rasraj, I'm coming to India, I have booked my ticket. And he said, I am also coming to America, you postpone your thing. So I said, I cannot drop my plan to come to India because my family people are so much worried. So I was flying through New York. So I had some relatives in New York. So I came and I stayed with them on Long Island. And then I met Rasraj in Long Island temple. And he told me, so I says, no, I'm going to India. So I came to India, and then, Rasraj told me that don't go to Chennai, go to Tirupati. Because he says in Chennai there are a lot of problems. So I came to Tirupati, and Tirupati GBC was Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj. And the temple president was Shankhabrit Prabhu. And Rasraj has met him, and Rasraj was very impressed by him. So that's how I landed up in Tirupati. And it was a new project. Basically, it was just started. So we are only few people. We built the temple. I actually installed the deities. I came to Jaipur, Radha Govinda deities. I took them from here with the van and did all the installation. And I was the first pujari. I did seva there for years. I did a lot of service and preaching in the university there, the big university in Tirupati. But I was having problems because the temple president was not very straightforward. His character problems and swindling of money, all this. So then I decided to leave. I said, why do I have to be under him? And I became very firm that I have to study shastra. This desire to study the Sandarbhas was already there in me from Detroit. When I heard about Jiva Goswami and I heard his Sandarbhas and how Prabhupada was praising them, I thought I want to study them, but I didn't know where and how to study. So when I was in Detroit, I used to come every year to Vrindavan because we needed to buy certain things for the deity worship, incense, this, that, some dresses, other paraphernalia. So I will always come during Kartik period, Prabhupada's disappearance time. And I was very fond of books. So I will go to Loi Bazaar and buy books. So there I bought books on the Sandarbha. And then I read the address of the person who printed it, and that was my present Guru, Sri Haridas Shastri Maharaj. So I went to see him. And when I went to see him, he was teaching to one ISKCON sannyasi. So I just sat there, I listened to the whole class. And but he was teaching in Bengali because this sannyasi, his name was Venkat Swami or something. I don't know where he is now. I heard he went to prison for some time. But so after the class, I asked one question to Maharaj, and when he answered, I was so impressed. So then I decided I must come and study under him. But I did not know because I had so much responsibility in Tirupati, and there was a big project. We had a plan to make a big temple and guest house and regular ISKCON project.
Mhm.
So it would take 10 years. So I used to plan that I will be here for 10 years. When this project is ready, then I'll drop and I'll go to Vrindavan. But then situations became very bad, a lot of problems. And Shankhabrit was married person, so he was not in the temple. So all the problems will come on my head. He made me like a co-president. He created a post called co-president, not vice president. So basically I was managing the whole temple. And managing means seeing all the problems of the brahmacharis and this and that. So I said, "Man, this is not what I want to do." And then all the money was going somewhere. So I said, this project will never start. He collected a lot of money, but swindled also. So then I decided to leave. And I knew that if I leave, he's going to create a lot of trouble. So I had university students and I told them I'm going to leave and you have to protect me. So my train was at night. And then I did not tell Shankabrita till the last minute that I'm leaving. And he was totally shocked. and he wanted to physically stop me, but the students were there. So they escorted me to the train station and I left from there.
My
And I
God.
came to Vrindavan. In the meantime, I had contacted my brother and I said that, look, I'm going to live outside ISKCON and I want to study. So he said, okay, he will rent a room for me and you come. So when I came, obviously it will take some time to rent a room. So I came and I stayed in ISKCON Gurukula, Brahmachari Ashram. And there, when I was staying there, then I was talking, I knew some people. So they said that, why you want to leave? Why don't you stay here only and study? So I said, okay, then I will take some service here. So I went to the temple president and I said, please give me some service. I want to stay in Vrindavan. So he asked me my background. So he said, you're too qualified to do service here in the Brahmachari Ashram. You go to the Gurukula and meet Dhanudhar Swami. Maybe he will have some service for you. So Dhanudhar Swami, I had written to him because when I was in Tirupati, I had also started a small school there for children. And I had written to him to take some guidance, which of course I never got any reply from him. So I went to Dhanudhar Swami. I had started learning Sanskrit in Tirupati. But the problem was that in Tirupati, I did not know the local language, which is Telugu, and the teachers did not know Hindi or English. So there was a problem of communication. So that's also the reason I wanted to move to Vrindavan. So then I met Dhanudhar Swami and he said, yeah, yes, we need a Sanskrit teacher. I said, okay, I can teach. That much I know. So he says, fine. But I said, look, I will teach, but I have one condition that I want to study myself. So he says, no problem. You just teach and then you're free to do whatever you want to do and I will protect you. So he was very kind. He gave me a room and I started teaching in the ISKCON Gurukula and I started studying. I hired one teacher to teach me in this, Panini grammar. And then I went to see Maharaj in his ashram at Kalida. So I met one of his main disciple outside and he said he doesn't teach anymore. He has stopped teaching.
Your guru doesn't teach anymore.
Yeah.
Mm.
And he was not my guru yet.
Yeah, right.
But so I was very shocked. So I came back. Then I went around throughout Vrindavan meeting all the famous people here. Whoever had a name and fame that they're scholar, I met everybody. And I said, I want to learn Sandarbhas because I was so eager to learn such Sandarbhas of Jiva Goswami. And everybody said that they cannot teach. The only person who can teach is him. So then I came back. So what happened is that around that time, I continued studying my Sanskrit grammar and teaching. So one of my god brother, means disciple of Swarup Damodar Maharaj, who he came from Mumbai, whom I have met there in Mumbai, because there was a world conference on science and religion, and I had attended there. It was in '86. So I was there with Rasraj and everybody. So I met him. He was in BI, this boy. So he came and he moved to Vrindavan to study Sanskrit. And he was doing Pujari Seva. So he came to see me. And I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm doing Pujari Seva. And he said, he's going to learn Sanskrit. So I asked him, from whom? And he said, from Guru Maharaj. I said, but he does not teach. So he says, no, the head Pujari here, Purnchand, he was a Bengali Prabhupada's disciple. He knows him because he has studied from him. Prabhupada himself sent this Purnchand to study from Guru Maharaj. So for some time he studied, but then he went to Bengal and discontinued. So he knows him personally. He says he will introduce me and he will teach. I said, okay. I said, the day you go, please take me also with you.
So
then
Srila
three of us.
Srila Prabhupada knew about Sri Haridas
Yeah,
Shastri Maharaj?
he was known. He was probably the greatest scholar of his time.
Wow.
He had 9 graduate degrees. He has studied all range of darshanas.
Wow.
He was well known for that.
Mhm.
Everybody respected him for that, and very renounced person. So then I went with Poonchand and this. So Poonchand introduced that he wants to study Harinama Vritvakaran. So Maharaj said, okay. Then he looked at me and he asked me, and you? So I said, Maharaj, I want to study the Sat Sandarbhas. So he looked at me and he waited and he said, why don't you study Harinama Vritvakaran first? So I said, Maharaj, I'm already studying Panini. So studying two systems together is difficult. So I will study Sandarbha, and then when I'm completed my Panini, then I will study Harinama Amrita. So he agreed. So I was just so elated to hear that. And that's how I started studying from him. And this boy, he dropped after a few months. So I remained. So that's how my journey came. And then I studied Sandarbhas, and then devotees started asking me that you teach. At that time, this hires, this Vrindavan Institute of Higher Education has started. I think it started in 88, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
So I was one of the teacher. So first course I gave was Sanskrit for preachers. Bhurijan Prabhu was in charge, and Bhurijan Prabhu, Dhanadhar Swami, they were very good friends of mine
Mhm.
and very supportive also. So I was giving, and then I started teaching Sandarbha. I used to give private classes in my room. I had a small room. I think it was room number 72, next to the stairs in the Gurukula, northeast side. So I was always teaching some class there. I first started because I was also learning, and then we'll sit together. So Kurmarupa Prabhu was there, and Kalya Krishna was headmaster, and sometimes Dhanudhar Swami would come, and random devotees will come there.
Right.
So then they said, why don't you teach the Sandarbhas? So I started teaching Sandarbhas, and then everybody loved it so much. So then it was proposed that why don't you translate them into English? So first I thought, well, I'm not so qualified, especially English is not my language. I never went to some English school. So he says, no, you do it. So then I started translating it. And then Kundali Prabhu joined. He came from Thailand, I think, and he knew Kurmarupa, and Kurmarupa told him that this devotee is there and this nice classes are going on. And so Kundali also came. He was staying in ISKCON Goshala, and he came and attended my classes, and he was very impressed. So then he said, I want to be part of this. So then we made a group, and we started working together. I used to write by hand. I had no computer, and Kurmarupa will type and send it back to me. I'll make corrections, and then it will go to Kundali, and he will do the editing. So this is how we were working. So then Kundali, he proposed that maybe we should give a proposal to Harikesh about this project, and he would support it. So we wrote a proposal to Harikesh Swami, who was in charge of Swedish BBT, and big. He was known as Mahaguru in those days. So Kundali and I wrote the proposal, and we presented. Kundali actually proposed to him, and he met him personally, and he very much liked it. And he showed him some of our work, the translation and commentaries on Tattva Sandarbha. So he was very impressed. He was so impressed that he came to see me in Vrindavan. He never used to come to Vrindavan. He was always in Mayapur, and he was in charge of Mayapur project. But he came and he talked to me, and then he said, in the meantime, I had formed Jiva Institute of Vaishnava Studies there, and this is the brochure I made.
Oh, hold on. I can make the screen bigger for you there.
Yes. So you
Oh,
see
wow.
this,
Prabhupada's on the front.
and this is a quote from Prabhupada. I want to start a nice international institute at the place of Srila Jiva Goswami. My mission is to develop the glories of Srila Jiva Goswami all over the world, and I think you should cooperate with me, my honest endeavor.
Wow.
So this was my mission in ISKCON. Because I used to think, this was my personal thinking, that Prabhupada has done a wonderful job by, making so many temples and devotees, but there should be a place where at least sincere devotees can do deep studies. Because many devotees used to come to me when they were coming to my classes. I was already there now a few years, and they used to say, we want to study more, we want to study more. So then I said, like, we should have an institute where devotees who really want to dedicate for studying, they should do that. And then I found this quote of Prabhupada. I said, look, Prabhupada himself wanted it. So then I made this brochure where I have all this, what is our mission and what we want to do, and the books I wanted to translate. All that list is there. And then Harikesh Swami agreed to support, and he bought a land for us.
Wow.
Which is not very far from where Jiva Institute is now. And we actually started construction. And this is the plan of that. We will have a basement and building, and our whole team will live there. So we had a team. This was the team at that time. Kundali is there. I'm standing in front. Kale Krishna, and then backside is Upendra. Then Jalandhar, that boy young, and then Kurmarupa Prabhu. And we took a pledge. Let me read the pledge to you.
Sure.
So the devotees involved in the Jivas is Jivas, we used to call it Jivas, at Jiva Institute of Vaishnava Studies. Is a very important service to Srila Prabhupada, to our predecessor Acharyas, and to the world. Indeed, we think it a service long overdue. To show our commitment to Jivas, we have decided to take a vow to dedicate the rest of our lives to the realization of this wonderful project. Hence, with the worldwide community of Vaishnavas as our witness, we vow the following. We, the undersigned, dedicate our life, wealth, intelligence, and words to the service of the Jivas, that is Jiva Institute of Vaishnava Studies project, as described in this pamphlet. To this end, we are willing to do whatever it takes within Krishna consciousness to accomplish our goal. By the grace of Vaishnavas, may our attempt meet with speedy success. And then everybody signed. So now from this team, I'm the only one still
This
pursuing
is
that
an
goal.
unheard history. I've never heard this before.
Yes. So you see, now then came this problem. And so now Harikesh Swami said that this Sandarbhas should be published by BBT. And he said that he will publish them with Swedish BBT. So then what he did, that he brought in Dravida Prabhu and Gopi Pran Dhan Prabhu as my editors. So Dravida Prabhu was the final editor of English along with Kundali. Kundali will be the first editor, and then Dravida. And Gopi Pran Dhan Prabhu will be the editor of Sanskrit and checking. So then we were all working together. So Gopi Pran Dhan Prabhu was my final editor. And then the book got ready. So when the book came, then this problem of Jiva fall down came at that time, because Jiva Goswami says that we are beginninglessly conditioned, anadi baddha. So this issue came up, and Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu said that this is wrong, we cannot accept it. So then in Mayapur they had a meeting with all the BBT trustees. So I was called there, and Kundali, was he there or not? No, he was not there. So I went there, and we had meeting with Jayadvaita Swami and Harikesh Swami, and there was whoever the BBT trustees at that time, Gopal Krishna Maharaj. So there was a long discussion on this point. So first they said that I should change the translation, and I did not agree for that. I said I cannot change Jiva Goswami's word. I'm a follower of truth. So then the Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu said that, argument, counter argument went. So it was like they will not print it, drop it, because nobody agreed. But Harikesh was very powerful person at that time, and he has a lot of weight. So he convinced, and the conclusion was, because we also discussed that there are also differences of opinion in previous acharyas sometimes between, Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti also. Sometimes there are, and I know those places. So he says we can put a footnote that, this is it, and then below in the footnote we can say that Prabhupada says like this. So that's where we agreed. Before that, we said, when they said change it, I did not agree. I proposed that let this book be printed. If you change it, let it be printed with Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu's name, and my name should not be mentioned there. I don't mind, and I will assist him. But I don't want my name to appear on the book if it is twisting Jiva Goswami's words. I was very firm on that. So then Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu did not agree to that. He says, I'm not qualified to translate these Sundarbans. He refused. So that's when they came up with this idea. So somehow they all agreed. And the book was in complete final stage. It was finalized and it was sent to Swedish BBT. And this was Mayapur festival time. So I came back to Vrindavan, and in the meantime, I did not even know. So Gopi Pranadhan Prabhu and Jayadvaita Maharaj and Hridayananda Goswami and that Drut Karma Prabhu, Dravida, they all met and they planned how to stop it. So then Drut Karma Prabhu wrote a very strong letter. I don't know if you have read it.
I've read it, yeah.
Yeah, against me, that how I'm actually deviating the whole ISKCON and taking it away and this and it. I'm a very dangerous person and I'm like putting meat on the offering plate of Radha and Krishna, some things like that. A very heavy letter. So when that, and he sent this letter to all the GBCs, to all the temple presidents and all that. So by that time, email had come. So through email. So then one day, this was actually the day of Janmashtami. I used to go and study with Maharaj in the evening time. My classes were evening, and I would come at night like 10:30 from there. So I came and I had a note on my table. I never locked my room, it was always open. So I had a note on my table from Kaliya Krishna Prabhu. Kaliya Krishna Prabhu was disciple of Harikesh Swami, and he was in charge of the construction of this Jiva project. So he said that, call me immediately. So I called him. At that time, they had given me a phone in my room. So I called him and he said that this project is cancelled. He got a call from Harikesh Swami and he said the project is cancelled. And I said, why? And he says he doesn't know. So then I thought I will tell Kundali Prabhu, but Kundali was already sleeping. So I didn't wake him up. So in the morning I told him. And then he said, okay, let me call Harikesh Swami. So he got in touch with him. And Harikesh Swami said that he will write a letter and then he will know. So then he wrote a letter and he sent this and he says, this is the thing and I cannot support it anymore because I will be in trouble then. So that's how the project got cancelled. And in the meantime, this issue has become very hot all over the ISKCON, this fall down thing. So we were getting a lot of questions and emails and arguments and counter arguments. So I did not have my own computer or anything. Everything will come to Kundali. He will bring it to me. I will reply. Then he will send. All this was going on. So then Kundali Prabhu suggested that, okay, the project is cancelled, everything. He says, we will print the book ourselves. So I said, fine. And then he said, why don't you write a book on this fall down issue? So that's how this book came into existence. what do we call as in Vaikuntha, not even the leaves fall.
Right. What a title. What a title.
So in this book, I basically tried to reconcile the ISKCON view or Prabhupada view with the no fall down issue. That this was a technique or for preaching.
Right.
And this book was done in a big hurry, because you can imagine that this project got cancelled at Janmashtami, which usually comes in August, September. And by January, we had printed the book. So we wrote this book and printed it, because our plan was that we'll take this book to next Mayapur festival.
Wow.
So
That's
in
brave.
February, yeah. So in February, we sent few hundred books to Mayapur with Upendranath Prabhu, because Mayapur festival starts before that. There are GBC meetings and temple president meetings, and devotees are already coming. So he went there with the books and he started selling. Jayadvaita Swami saw the book and he was very furious. He confiscated all the books immediately. And then I was called. I had to appear in front of GBC, full GBC board, and explain why I have written this book. So Kundli left. He did not. He went to Australia. So I went alone to Mayapur, and they made a committee to deal with this issue, in which we had Jayapataka Swami and Shivram Maharaj was there, and I think Radhanath Swami and few others were there. So then I had to first appear, and then they questioned me, and then I had to appear in front of the complete GBC. So they asked me questions. So their main argument was that this book will disturb devotees' mind. So I said, well, you are saying it will disturb devotees' mind, but how do you know? I says, why don't you do one thing? You randomly select 100 devotees, so many devotees are here, and give them this book. We have copies, and let them read it. And then ask them if they're disturbed. And then you make a decision. So they did not agree. So they just banned the book. They said that we ban the book. So they passed 3 resolutions. One is that this book is banned. Number 2, I'm banned to give any classes to devotees, either in my room or in the temple room. And I'm banned to go outside to study. I can only stay there in the Gurukula and teach to the Gurukula students. That's all. So that's how it went. So then I understood that my time is over here. So I came back and I did not know what to do. So then I came back to Vrindavan. I was still teaching, but I did not stop studying. So I will go and study, and everybody will look at me, but nobody dared to ask me, why are you going to study? So this continued because I had no place. So then I took help from my brother and I bought this land where I'm sitting now. And it will take some time to get ready. Where will I go? And things in India move slow. So then by the time next Mayapur festival came, so before that, they sent a team to deal with me. And Trivikram Maharaj was the chief of that team. So he called me. I remember he called me after lunch. We used to have lunch, I think, 2 o'clock. And then he questioned me. So by that time, I had already decided that I will leave. So he said, who is your guru and what's your relationship and this and that. And he said, what do you think of Bhakti Siddhanta Maharaj? So frankly speaking, it may have been offensive at that time, and I would not say anything like this now, but I was also in that, upset mood. And I said, I don't think of him. So he was very upset when I said that. I said, I don't think of him. I don't need to think of him. So then he said, then you should leave from here. I said, okay. Then he asked me, how much time do you need to leave? So I said, give me at least 24 hours. So he said, all right. So then I came to my room, and now it was certain that I have to leave. And I was hoping that my place will be ready, at least one room will be ready, that then I could move here. But it was so. Then I arranged with Kale Krishna Prabhu. He had a house, and he had a small room at the entrance, like a garage room. So he said, "Well, you can come and live here." So I said, "Okay." So then next day morning, I called one bullock cart and loaded my things, and I moved out. And when I was going out, I met Trivikram Swami by chance, And he said, "Oh, you're leaving?" I said, "Yes." And then he said, "Oh, we will miss you." I said, "Well, really?" So that's how I left ISKCON. And obviously, people then thought I'm against Prabhupada and I'm this and I'm that and all types of things. I'm envious snake. All these regular designations were given to me. But I want to, speak clearly since I'm speaking. I'm not against anybody. I did not join ISKCON for this person or that person. If at all I joined because I was impressed with Prabhupada. But primarily I joined ISKCON because I wanted to have realization of the truth, which was in me, in my blood, from my birth, coming probably from my past life. So therefore, I don't have any competition with anybody. I don't compete with anybody. And after leaving ISKCON, I did not write anything against ISKCON or Gaudiya Math or Prabhupada or anything. And I have thousands and thousands of lectures recorded and on YouTube also. No one can say that I'm saying anything against anybody. Of course, if they ask me question about the Jiva issue and the dormant love, and I will answer what it is. And if they give arguments against it, I will refute it. But that's not going against it. And this is India, here we live like that. It's not that. And why shall I be hateful to anybody? How does it help me on my journey to be envious of somebody? Or here, you won't believe, I live in this ashram. Right opposite the main entrance of this building is ISKCON Youth Forum. All the ISKCON devotees are living, and they enter through my main entrance gate. They share it, And I have not had no problem with them, because this house actually belonged to an ISKCON devotee, but he had only one son from Mumbai, Bipin Sa. His son died, so then he donated this house to ISKCON, and they made it like a ISKCON Brahmachari ashram here. But we have a common entrance. We have no problem with them. Never had any conflict. I do my things, they do their things. And with me, there are people living from practically everything. I have people living here from Sridhar Swami's Mutt, ISKCON, Gaudiya Math, and people from different groups come and attend. Anandas Baba Chela, Prem Gopal Goswami Maharaj disciple is living here. People from different groups come and live here, study, or they even just live. None of my disciples or students tries to preach them to change or convert and they should take Diksha from me, because I'm not keen on that. That's not my mission. Mission is to understand Shastra and to practice it myself. And if I can help others, if some people who are interested in learning, I'm willing to do that. So that's what I do. That's what my life is, I have Jagdananda Prabhu living with me. Now he's in Canada, but he's been living with me. He's disciple of Lalita Prasad Thakur. So I've had people even from Ramanuja Sampradaya living with me, attending my classes. And nobody ever feels pressurized here that they have to be my follower, or I don't even ask them that they should attend my classes. It's up to them whether they want to attend or not attend. I don't force anything on anybody. Everybody is free, unless they cause some disturbance here. Then I may have to ask them to leave. So both from ISKCON Gaudiya Math or Saraswat Parivar, or from the Babaji side, Vinod Bihari Baba of Barsana, or Anandas Baba, or Pran Krishna Baba of Radha Kund, or Prem Gopal Goswami, there are people from all parivars who have living, or come and go here. So that is one thing I want to say, that do not please think that I have any hatred for anybody. Yes, I have my understanding of Shastra and I'm very firm on that, and I will defend that if there is a need for it. But that does not mean that I hate anybody.
Right. I wanted to. That's like kind of the point I wanted to make when I had an email exchange with you, and you said, which something was really interesting. Some people cannot believe that someone can have a different opinion and not be hateful. This really
Yes.
an interesting. If we can elaborate on that a little bit.
Well, my elaboration is this, that first of all these people, whether they belong to ISKCON, Gaudiya Math, or the different branches of Gaudiya Math, we are all follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So why shall I hate a person who is following whom I follow, whom I worship,
Yes.
whom I revere? I don't even hate people of other sampradaya, other Vaishnavas who are worshipping Krishna or another form of Krishna, because they're worshipping my Lord.
Yes.
I may have a difference with him. Even in one family, people have differences. Does it mean that they hate each other or they should hate it? No.
No.
Every human mind thinks differently. It is impossible that two people can have 100% same understanding and same thought process. So why shall I hate it? Krishna himself tolerates everybody. He tolerates all the asuras also. He says, Daityanam Prahlada asmi. Among the Daityas, I am Prahlad. And he says, Jai Kaletu Sattvasya. He says, I give energy to the asuras. So why I have to hate anybody? And then second thing is that as far as my personal life, where does hate fit in bhakti angas that I should hate? Why should I do it? I don't see any logic. I don't see any shastric reference, and it doesn't match with my heart. People, even from ISKCON, big gurus or GBCs, they come often to meet me, ask questions. I have no problem with them.
I think another concern is not just the hate part, but that, oh, if someone says something different from me, from my guru or my parampara, then I should avoid them because they're going to hurt my faith in my parampara in some sort of way. So, I mean, in that way,
Yeah,
it's
that is their thinking is right. They
yeah.
should not obviously associate. Rup Goswami himself says that in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that one should associate people of one's own parivar,
Mhm.
swatavar. So, because that is thing, but I have nothing against that,
Right.
If somebody has a feeling like this, that my understanding is different, they should not associate with me, then I have no problem with that. In fact, ISKCON passed a resolution after I left. That was the fourth resolution of ISKCON, that nobody should associate with Satyanarayana Das or anybody who associates with him. So I'm fine with it, I think they're right to do that. I'm not upset by their resolution. I think what they're doing is good because they have to protect their society, and they must pass a resolution against me because I do not agree with them, and I don't see anything wrong with it. Anybody who has concern for their organization should do that.
Mhm.
So I did not, when I came to know this, I didn't feel bad or anything. I said, yeah, fine, this is good.
Going back to the paper that you wrote, wasn't your objective to harmonize those things with Prabhupada's teachings and with Jiva Goswami's teachings? But
That
you're
was,
saying,
yeah, that,
that the GBC didn't agree with your viewpoint on harmonizing it.
yeah. You see, my thinking was this, and obviously ISKCON people, they will not, they did not agree and they will not agree. My thinking was little broader thinking. I don't think that shallow thinking. My thinking was that Prabhupada, he's a great acharya. He has done a great work. But now people also come to know about his books and his writings and his teachings of other sampradayas. So you can go to any other Vaishnava sampradaya. Nobody is going to subscribe to this idea that we fell down from Vaikuntha because it is not in Shastra. You may say Prabhupada said or so and so said, but outside ISKCON, Prabhupada said does not hold authenticity for them. It is not a pramana for them. It is a pramana for the followers of Prabhupada, not for followers of Sri Ramanujacharya or even Sri Madhvacharya, to whom we subscribe ourselves. They will not agree to that. When actually, to tell you another incident, when I was in Mayapur, incidentally, Pejawar Swami of Madhva Sampradaya, who died recently,
Yeah.
is one of the in charge of the 9 mathas. He was there in Mayapur for some inauguration or something. So I met him personally and I asked him. He was a very learned person. I mean, these Madhvacharyas are highly learned people. They are trained from very young age. So I met him and I asked him this question, and he says, no, this is not possible. So then what they will think that, well, Prabhupada did not know, or obviously they are not going to appreciate it coming from Prabhupada. So therefore I said, let's do it like this. But this was not. So my original view was this only, that I will reconcile things which would become acceptable even to other sampradayas and scholars. Otherwise, this will keep on continuing. I know many people in ISKCON who are mainstream ISKCON, they don't believe in it, but they do lip service what GBC has, said. Recently, one ISKCON devotee came to me and he actually told this to me. He says, I'm not convinced about it, and he asked me and I explained to him, and he says he wrote to one GBC and Guru, one big GBC about this question, and that GBC and Guru openly wrote to him that yes, we do not fall, but we cannot preach it because GBC has restricted it. He said it.
Right.
So it's not that even in ISKCON everybody is happy with this. So therefore I thought at that time that we can do something like this. This does not minimize Prabhupada's position in my eyes, but obviously they don't think so.
Yeah. Do you think it's important sometimes for our faith to be challenged in a sort of way, just so we can have a more like to be kind of put out of our comfort zone when it comes to our faith, so our faith can grow in a proper way when there is some little bit of challenge? Because if there isn't a challenge, then sometimes we can become fanatical, or we can become kind of have one narrative and not really see any other, like have blinders on our face. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I will agree with you, but my view is different. My view is that faith, once you have it, there's nothing which can challenge it. And the problems come because we do not even know what faith means. If you ask a normal devotee and ask him, can you define what is faith? Probably will have a tough time defining it. So what actually is faith? The way it is written in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the way Jiva Goswami, Rupa Goswami, our acharyas use this word Shraddha, it means Shastrarth Vishwas. Shraddha Nam Shastrarth Vishwas. This is Jiva Goswami's comment on the word Shraddha, where Rupa Goswami says that Shraddha is the adhikar. When he is defining the adhikar, Shastra Yuktau Cha Nipuna. So he said this is what the word Shraddha means. So that means Shraddha comes when you understand the meaning of Shastra. And that comes when you study Shastra. And then when you study Shastra, then all these challenges will come naturally. Because Shastra and the commentators, they already bring out these type of issues there. So then it will be Vada. Then it will be a friendly discussion to understand the truth. Otherwise it turns into Jalpa or Vitanda. That I have to win or I have to just refute you, that's all. So that is very important. So what is happening at present in our Sampradaya, unfortunately, is that there is not much study of Shastra. In fact, people think it is not needed. And they think if you study shastra, you just become a scholar. That is not devotion. But they forget that in the very beginning of the 64 Angas, what does Rupa Goswami write? He says, Guru Padashraya Tasmat Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam Vishrambhena Guru Seva Sadhu Vartmanu Vartmanu. So he says bhakti begins, he says Tasmat. Tasmat means therefore or then, which means if you are truly interested, if you are sincere, if you want to dedicate your life to the path of bhakti, then this is what you have to do. He gives the steps for that. So what are those steps? First is Guru Padashraya. Take shelter of Guru. And then take Diksha and Shiksha. Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam. That is the number 2. And number 3 is Vishrambhena Guru Seva. Then you do Guru Seva. So now these 3 things are the primary foundation. He himself writes, Traya Pradhanam Evoktam Guru Pradashrayadikam. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He says that these 3 are the chief angas of bhakti. So people these days, everybody is talking about Manjari Bhav, this Bhav, Siddha Deha. But you analyze if they have these first 3 things. Now, this Diksha and Shiksha is also not separate. You often hear, he is my Diksha Guru, he is my Shiksha Guru. No, this Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam means Diksha Purvakam Shikshanam iti artha. Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur both explain. It means taking Diksha and then studying from that very Guru. That is called Dikshadi Shikshanam. So Tan Bhagavatan Arthain Shikshad Guru Atma Devate Amaya Anuvritya Yaitushthed Atma Atma Do Guru. In Bhagavatam it is said, therefore you should study this Bhagavad Dharma from your Guru. Studying does not mean buying a book and reading it. That is reading. Studying is different. And this is what is missing. You can do one survey and find out one person who has studied one book from his Guru. Probably you will not find many. If you can reach double figure, I will be surprised. Anybody who has even studied, forget about Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that's a very big book. It has got few thousand slokas. Even Bhagavad-gita, somebody has studied from their Guru. You have to study it. Otherwise, I can pose questions to you on Bhagavad-gita from Advaita point of view and you will be caught. Because I am a Vaishnava, I have studied it. I can also give a Purvapaksha to you because I already know what you will say. So these books have to be studied. When you study it like that, your Shraddha will become like a rock. Nobody can shake you. So therefore, who is the Uttam Adhikari? Rupa Goswami says, Shastre Yuktau Cha Nupana. So who is expert in Shastra? And Yukti, logic. Means he can present it logically. The Shastra also has, you know Shastra, you have to present it logically when opposition is there. So then these types of challenges which you are saying, it will be not a problem. So therefore, this has to be done. This is the foundation. If the foundation is not there, then you can have the building. It can collapse anytime. Then you can change from here to there. So just like you go to a university. So first you have to take admission in the university, right? Or a college.
Right.
So you become a student. And then you have to attend classes there. Have you ever seen that some student takes admission in the university, pays the fee and everything, gets his number, but then he did not attend the classes? He is attending classes one day in this university, another day in another university, another day another university. It doesn't work like that. So Diksha is nothing but the beginning. That's why it is called initiation. Diksha and Shiksha are put together by Rupa Goswami. They are not two separate limbs of bhakti. He says Dikshadi Shikshanam. Because that is just a formal acceptance. Means I accept you as my student, you accept me as my teacher, just like formal acceptance in the university as a student. It's not that you just go and sit in the class without getting admitted in the university and then learn. No, you have to be formally admitted to that. And then you can say, I'm a student of Rutgers, I'm a student of Princeton, I'm a student of Harvard, or wherever. So those are different schools. So you study there, you attend classes, you have exams, you have tests, you have other students there. This is have to be done in the same way. There's nothing different. This is what Rupa Goswami is saying. So therefore, Diksha means initiation. It is initiation for what? Initiation for Shiksha. And that Shiksha has to come from Shastra. So you have to study Shastra. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam te karya karya vyavasthito. Gyatva Shastra Vidhanoktam karya kartum iharasi. Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself says that your pramana is Shastra. What is pramana? Pramakarnam pramanam. Pramiyate aniyati pramanam. That by which you know the truth, that is called pramana. So first you have to know what is a pramana. If you want to see an object, eye is the pramana. Nose is not a pramana for that. Nose is a pramana for smell. Tongue is a pramana for taste. So the pramana for knowing Krishna is Shastra, not anything else. Not somebody's statement. It does not work. So therefore, Guru is also that who knows Shastra. Tasmad Gurum Prapaddeta Jigyashu Shreyottamam. Shastre Parecha Nishnatam. Nishnat means expert, like who has taken a dip in it. Snan. Nitram Snataha. Who has taken a complete dip in the Shastra. He knows the Shastra inside out. That is qualified Guru. So this is the path of Bhakti Marga. This is the path which our Acharyas have laid down for us. And if we are serious about it, then we have to follow it. So what is happening is that I want the fruit of Shastra. Because from where do we know that there is Golok Vrindavan, there is Radha Krishna, there is Prema, and there is Siddha Deha? This is coming from Shastra. So I want that Manjari Bhav, I want that Manjari Swarup, which is coming from Shastra. But I don't want to study Shastra. So I want to become a doctor, but I don't want to sit in the class and study. It won't happen. So you go on trying. So people keep on trying 30 years, 40 years, and then if you talk to them privately, he says, well, my mind is still not stable, I don't chant. And then you hear all this. In Bhakti, there is no fall down. You know that? Kaunteya pratijanihi namad bhakta pranashyati. He's saying, the boss is saying, my devotee does not fall down. And to whom he's saying? He was talking about apicheta suduracharaya bhajte mam ananya bhak sadhureva samantavya. Samyak. This guy was not somebody who was born in a high class family. He says apicheta suduracharaya. Even this person, Kshipram bhavti dharmatma shashvat shantim negachati kaunteya pratijanihi namad bhakta pranashyati. Says my devotee will never fall down. But you have to understand first what is devotee, what is bhakti. Bhakti is not a cheap thing. Why Rupa Goswami said it is sudurlabha? Kleshagni shubdha moksha laguta krita sudurlabha. Sandranand vishesh atma Shri Krishna akarshani chesa. So it is sudurlabha. It is easy, but easy does not mean easy for everybody. First you have to understand it, then it will be easy. So we have to spend a lot of time understanding bhakti. I tell you, if you understand bhakti, even if you understand what it is, fall down is impossible. I can say it with my...
What do you mean by that? Because we see that there are fall downs in the sense of what we call in ISKCON like a fall down.
Don't understand bhakti. Don't understand bhakti. The only way you can fall down is if you have committed offense. Then bhakti does not protect. Obviously, if you are offending bhakti herself, otherwise there is no power in the three worlds which can deviate a bhakta. Bhakti is so powerful. Even theoretical understanding is so powerful of bhakti. Janayati ashu vairagyam jnanam chayada hetukam. It immediately generates vairagya. So if vairagya is generated, where is the fall down? Fall down obviously means Vishaya. Vishaya avishta chittasya Krishna bhakti sudurata. Varuni diggatam vastu kathamendri maya apnuyat. This Vishaya and Bhakti are two separate directions. He says, thing which is found in the West, how will you find it in the East? Impossible. They are two different directions. So once you are situated in Bhakti, even from the beginning, even that Kanishta Adhikari will not fall down. You can read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on Kanishta Adhikari, where Komal Shraddha, that his Shraddha is very delicate. Even he would not fall down. It is impossible. That is the power of Shraddha. The word Shraddha itself means that Shrat Dha. Shrat means Sat, the truth. Dha means situated. One who is situated in this Shraddha will situate you in the truth, and now you will walk. It will link you to that. You will have samskaras and all that which may trouble you, but you will not deviate. It is impossible. That's why I'm saying try to understand what is being written by our Goswamis. This bhakti is so amazing. It is just amazing. And then you will know why it is said it is simple and it is this and that. But first you have to invest some time and energy to understand it and ingrain it, digest it.
When you mentioned that the devotees nowadays are not studying it, do you mean that it's because they are not studying under someone, or it's just that no one is just not studying it?
Yeah, they are not studying because studying means studying under someone, because you cannot understand it yourself. How many people understand? It is written very clearly, Krishna Dikshadi Shikshanam. You talk to anybody, do they understand the meaning of this statement? It is also translated. People read it, they don't understand it. Because Shastra is like a textbook. Then you have to hear it from somebody who knows it, who has experience of it. Then it opens itself. Otherwise, Srutvapi na evam Veda kaschit. Ashrayavat pashyati kaschyidainam Ashrayavadvati tathaiva chanya. Ashrayavatche enam anyashnoti Srutvapi enam na Veda kaschit. You hear it, but you don't know it. And you will think, I know it. But it is somebody who is teaching you. He will know whether you know it or not know. By yourself, you cannot know whether you understood or not. So Vidura makes a very beautiful statement. He says, Swata Jnanam Kutah Punsham Bhakti Vairagyam Evacha. He says, how can one gain knowledge? And there, knowledge, he is not talking about this knowledge of Shastra by oneself. Swatah Jnanam Kutah Punsham. And then Bhakti Vairagyam, what to speak of Bhakti and Vairagya. And then Krishna also makes a statement to Uddhava. He says, Anadi avidya yuktasya purushasya atma vedanam swato na sambhavad. Same word is used, swata. First of all, this anadi, the problematic word, is used by him. So he says that the purusha, the jiva, the living being, the living entity, is conditioned without a beginning by avidya. Anadi avidya yuktasya purushasya atma vedanam. Atma vedanam means knowing about Atma, where Atma means Bhagavan. Because you cannot know even yourself without his help. So swato na sambhavat. Very clearly says it is not possible by oneself. Then how is it possible? Anyado tattvagya jnanado bhavet. He says another person who knows the tattva, he can give knowledge, jnanada bhavet. It's very clear. So that's why you have to study. That is the whole system. That is what parampara means. Why do we call it parampara? What is the meaning of parampara? It doesn't matter whether it is Diksha parampara, now also this another issue, Siksha parampara, Bhagavat parampara, fine. I have no problem if you have Siksha parampara, but show me where is the Siksha parampara. Show me which guru has studied from his guru. Bhagavat parampara, I don't even know what Bhagavat parampara means, but show me. Otherwise, Bhagavatam itself says, Tatra Bhagavatan Dharman Shikshet Guru Atmandayavata. It's saying you should study from your guru Bhagavad Dharma. So it is a school. That's why we call it a school. Gaudiya Vaishnavism is school. You have to study.
Yeah.
Because bhakti is not of this world. Other things you can understand by self-study. Bhakti is nirguna. Our mind is saguna. Our experiences are saguna. They're all material. They are within the gunas of Prakriti. Our senses are also made of gunas. So whatever you can understand, it will be always in gunas. Because the way you understand anything new is by comparison. You compare with your previous experience. That's why we give examples. Why examples are given? Because example is something yatra laukikanam parikshikanam cha samya buddhi tat udaharan. So example is that which where the common person can understand and the teacher also, they both have the same understanding. They have a samya buddhi. So therefore it has to be studied. Otherwise you are going to interpret it according to your material mind. And bhakti is not material. I'm sure every devotee will agree with it. So if it is not material, how will you understand it with your material mind? So that's why Krishna says, Anyas tattvagyo jnanado bhavet. Another person who is tattvagya, he will give the jnana. So that transcendental knowledge comes. Tene brahma hridaya adi kave muhiyanti yat suraya. Krishna gave it to Brahma. Even Brahma cannot understand it. Krishna gave it to him. If Brahma would have to study Vedas on his own, he will not understand. So this is the only thing. In Chatusloki, he says this is the only thing to be asked. Etavadeva jigyasam tattva jigyasuna atmana anvay vyatireka yat syat sarvatra sarvada. A tattva jigyasu. First we have to become a tattva jigyasu. I have to become jigyasu, means one who wants to know of tattva. And then one has to do this jigyasa from Guru. Etavadeva jigyasam. Chatusloki itself is saying that you have to make this jigyasa. You have to approach the Guru and ask this. Krishna is also saying tadvidhi pranipatena pariprasnena sevaya. You have to go. Nowhere it is said that you just read it. In Mahabharata there is a story to illustrate this point, that there was a Brahmana boy. So as a young boy he did not study, because obviously studying is tapasya. Brahmachari life is not fun. So he did not study. Then he grew up. But when he grew up now, when he was young, his parents supported him. Now parents are dead. He did not study. And as a Brahmana, now he does not know any of the Brahmanical duties. And so he could not support. So he thought, well, let me get Vedic knowledge. Otherwise, how will I survive? But now he does not want to go to school because he's grown up and it will be too embarrassing for him to sit in the class and be under some guru. So he says, I will go and do tapasya. So tapsa kimna labhyate. What is that you cannot attain by tapasya, by austerity? So he was doing tapasya for a long time. Nothing happened. So then Indra, he took compassion on him. So Indra took the form of a Brahmana and he came. So he was living near a river. So Indra sat on the bank of the river and he was taking sand and throwing into the river with his hand. So this Brahmana came there and he saw him and he says, what is he doing? This old Brahmana, what is he doing? So he asked him, excuse me, sir, what are you doing? So he says, well, I have to go to the other side and there's no boat, so I want to build a bridge. So this man started laughing. He says, how will you make the bridge like this? The sand you put in water, it's just going to go down. This is not the way to bridge. So he says, well, if you can understand Vedas by yourself, I can also make the bridge. What is the problem? So then this Brahmana, he got shocked. He says, who is this? So then he revealed his identity and he told him, you go to a guru and learn from him. So tasmad gurumeva abhigachet shrotriyam brahmanishtham. So Upanishad also says, therefore you should approach a guru, samit pani, taking some gift in your hand. And guru is also shrotriya and brahmanishta. Again the word shrotriya is used. He is learned and he is brahmanishta. So this is the simple process. And whatever I have said, it's not that it's some complicated stuff. It's not a rocket science. This is what you want to be a doctor, you want to be an engineer, you want to learn music. Can you learn music? Can you become a great musician just by listening or taking some book and reading it? Especially classical music. No, you would not know what raga is this and what is the difference between this raga and that raga.
Yeah.
Now, these are material things. What to speak of bhakti? We are trying to know the Supreme Person who is most knowledgeable. How are you going to deal with somebody who is so knowledgeable if you don't understand his personality, which comes only from Shastra? So therefore Krishna makes another statement. He says, Ya Shastra vidhim utsrijya vartate kamakarata na sa siddhim avapnoti na sukham na param gati. He says, those who do not follow the Shastra vidhi, the process described in Shastra, and function according to their own whims, and whims doesn't have to be just pure whim, it's just your understanding by reading book or this or that. That is also whim, because nowhere it says that you have to do like that. So he says, Nasa siddhim avapnoti, he will not attain perfection, which means whatever you are trying to attain, even if it is material thing you want. Nasukham, you won't attain happiness. Param gatim, the supreme destination, prema, bhakti, whatever, sadhya bhakti, you will not get it. It's a very clear statement, and it's from Bhagavad-gita. There's so many other statements like that.
Thank you for relaying all the whole story of how it all kind of materialized to now. We do have like about 15 more minutes before we end, but I did want to ask you something about your work with Vedic psychology, because I understand that you organized, or someone in connection with you organized retreats on psychology and how it's important for. Why do you think it's important for our Gaudiya community to kind of pay attention to psychology? Because I think not only when we preach to others, but also when in our own life and practice, it's like something. Why is it important for us to kind of study that?
Yeah, it is important from 2 points of view. The first is that we are coming from so many different backgrounds, and according to Vedic psychology, which I have accumulated different points, it's not Vedic psychology is not a subject in anywhere in the Vedas or anything, but reading Bhagavad-gita, reading Yoga Sutras, reading Sankhya philosophy, Bhagavatam, all that, I have gathered some knowledge, Smriti Shastras. So what happens is that this human body is a machine. We have basically 4 inner parts in it, which are very important to understand. We have a chitta, we have ahankara, we have manas, and we have buddhi. And they all 4 have different functions. So just like, to give you an analogy, we have a computer. So computer has a hard disk, it has a processor, it has a screen, but there is no ahankara here because computer is not a living being. So chitta is where all our experiences are stored. Whatever you experience, everything gets stored inside your chitta. That is like hard disk. Anything I type on my computer, everything goes into the hard disk. Then buddhi is like the processor. It processes this data and makes files of it. And that's why sleep is necessary, because most of the processing is done at night. When data is not, because when data is coming from outside, you have to get the data, there's no time to process it. So sleep is very important. That's why if you don't sleep for a few days, you can become crazy. Because now everything is haphazard, nothing is organized. That's what a crazy person means. Disorganized. Crazy person means the mind is disorganized. Otherwise, externally he looks fine. So therefore, buddhi does that function. It has many other functions. I'm speaking in brief. I'm just trying to summarize. Then manas is like the screen of the computer. What is in the chitta, you don't know anything about it. What buddhi is doing, you don't know much about it. But what you know is what comes on the screen of the mind. Like what is in the hard disk, I do not know. How the processor is doing things, if I click here, it opens a file. How it does, I don't know. But what I know is what comes on the screen, and then, okay, this is in this file. So same is what we know in our screen of the mind. So what happens, why I'm telling this brief introduction, is that as a child, when you are born, besides your vasanas coming from the past life, the slate from this life is clean. And the child is absorbing everything. If you have noticed a baby lying on the cradle, he absorbs a lot. His senses are very alert because he is not into future plans and the past sadness or anything. Nothing like that exists for him. So he lives in the present, what you say, here and now, that famous book of Eckhart Tolle or whatever. So child is actually like that. Animals are also like that, but animals don't have chitta, or it doesn't work like that. So then what, everything gets recorded, and you are also learning the language, you are also learning the words, you are also learning the emotions through this process. By the time you are 7 years old, or by the time your what you call the milk teeth fall down and you get the new teeth, 90% of your programming has been done. And this is what will guide your life for rest of your existence here. After that, it is only 10%. So therefore, it is very important. If I'm a teacher, it is very important for me to understand the psychology of this. What is the background of this person? Where is he coming from? Because then I understand why this person is behaving this way. Because devotees also have a lot of problems in their relations or with guru or among each others, and all this criticism and backbiting and politics and all these things go on or not. Why is this happening? Because it's all programmed inside, and they're depressed, they're angry, they're sad, all types. Some devotees through tantrums, and then there are devotees who look like pure devotees, but actually they may be codependent. Codependent looks like a very nice devotee. So there are some devotees who are narcissistic, and then there are some codependent. They make a very nice combination, and it looks like everything is going on very nice, but it's not going very nice, and it sooner or later falls apart.
Right.
So this is one thing which has to be understood. And second thing, since we don't have much time, is that actually all our shastra is about psychology. So there is a material psychology, and then there is spiritual psychology. All this bhakti, what are these vibhav, anubhav, sanchari bhav? This is psychology. Ujjwal Nilmani, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the later part, it's all how the devotee's mind functions. And that's why I said, if you want to serve Krishna, you also have to know he is also a person. He also has a mind. He also has a thought process. How does he think? How does he function? How does he relate with devotees? So this is the spiritual psychology. But if you are not understanding the material side, and then you have to clear these what you call the grunges, the things which are obstacle to your progress. These are anarthas. You know what Rup Goswami is saying? Ado Shraddha Tata Sadhu Sangata Bhajan Kriya Tato Anartha Nivri. These anarthas, what are these anarthas? These are all samskaras which will sprout up and then make you think all this Ghanatarla, Visha Shangara, all these things up and down and not able to do this. Niyama Kshama, which Vishnu. These are all samskaras playing with you. And unless you clear them, you will not come to the Nishtha stage. So then only you come the Nishtha. Then only it becomes smooth. Although we say bhakti is very easy, it is easy once you come to the Nishtha platform. Before that, forget about easiness. There's no easiness. And that's where many people are stuck, and they don't know how to get out of it. So my program was that, everybody should understand this Vedic psychology, how your own mind functions, your own problems, and take help. And I devised some techniques how to clarify, how to rewrite your hard disk, basically, like you do
Formatting.
Yeah. So there are viruses, these are viruses, because viruses are also programs on the same hard disk where you have your good programs.
Right.
So you call them seed and weed. So how to get rid of these viruses from there? So some techniques I devised for that to help devotees.
Amazing.
And then you can
really,
then you come to the real psychology.
Yes.
Then you understand why devotees why devotees act the way they act. Otherwise, you don't understand. That's why I said it's very difficult to understand the mind of a devotee, because his psychology is different. He's floating in another program, and your programming is different. And you don't know his program, but he knows your program.
Wow. I really hate to rush you on this topic because it's such a vast topic, and it seems like it can go. You can really elaborate on this topic. So maybe if you please, maybe you can bring you on again and talk about this specific topic, psychology, because that's just the little bit that you just said now in the past 10 minutes is like very fascinating, because it's so important to try to understand oneself, as well as why devotees might act a certain way, or why you may act a certain way.
Because we are on the path of self-realization.
Yeah.
So self-realization does not mean only to realize that I am Atma and I am servant of Krishna, but first realize this self, because we also call this body as ourself.
Yeah.
The word Atma in Sanskrit means all this. In Sanskrit, Atma means body. It also means mind. It also means buddhi. Krishna himself, Atma hi hivi Atmano bandhu, Atma hi ripur Atmana. So many times he uses the word Atma, but in different meaning.
Yeah.
So therefore, Atma Sakshatkar, self-realization also means first to know my body, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, then to know my mind, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and so many other divisions of it. Then to know my grunges, my anarthas from my Chitta. This is also realization of yourself, because you have to get rid of this. You have to use this instrument to reach there. It's like if I have a car, I have to know why this car is making noise. So no, I'm going Vrindavan. I don't care for the car. No, but car is the medium which will take you to Vrindavan.
Yes.
Say no, I meditate on Vrindavan only. I meditate on Radha Krishna pastime. Now we are talking about this is Maya. This is what we heard in ISKCON. Body is Maya. I spoiled my health hearing all these things. Still suffering from that.
Wow.
Yeah, doing all types of crazy things, don't eat at night and don't this and fasting this way and that way, These are all some unscientific ways. At least understand Ayurveda, which is the best science for the body.
Right. Well, Maharaj, it was very nice to speak with you and hear your story, and I thank you so much for expressing all of that you did. And yeah, it's just I feel like you were treated quite unfairly. That's my own personal opinion. And
No, I don't think like that. I'm telling you frankly, I don't have grudge against ISKCON or anybody.
right.
Anybody who were even so-called against me, I can meet them. I even met Jayadvaita Swami once in Boston area. We had talk. I don't have, because you know why? I take responsibility for my own actions. Because people say, many times they ask, why is that you don't get disturbed about ISKCON and this and that? I says, no, I joined ISKCON by my wish. So if I did not like it, and if this is my choice,
Yeah.
It was my decision. Nobody caught me by neck and said, join ISKCON. So why shall I blame them? If I have to blame, I have to blame myself. I made wrong decision if I have to say that. It is my decision. I am responsible for my own decision. Therefore, I don't have any grudge against anybody. And again, repeat it. Although many people think so, but I cannot change their thinking.
Yeah.
And finally, I would ask for forgiveness if my words hurt anybody's feelings. If anybody feels disturbed by my words, please forgive me. I don't have any intention to disturb anybody. I don't have any motives like that. I'm not after, this plan or that plan. My plan is very simple. I want to be a devotee and remain a devotee and practice, follow shastra.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please stay on, Maharaja, and I'm just going to turn off the recording. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for listening. Hare Bol.
Krishna,